My lovelies, thank you so much for watching, and if you're new, please go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my viral uploads. So guys, today's story is very tragic. It's a story about a man who had taken his wife to the hospital for her MRI procedure, and instead he was sucked into the MRI because he had a 20-pound chain around his neck. Now, we don't know what happened there, but they say that they tried to tell him not to go into the MRI room, and he didn't listen. He just wanted to go in there because his wife was calling him for help. I don't know how to judge this. I don't even know how to say, but it's really tragic. I'm gonna leave you with some people giving their views, some people who have worked in MRIs to give their views and their opinions about the whole tragic story. I'm so sorry for this woman's loss, and no one can really understand what she's going through, seeing her husband being sucked into the MRI machine and dying. He didn't die instantly. He was rushed to the hospital, but he just died. I think on Saturday. It happened on Wednesday, and I think on Saturday he passed. It's so tragic. I send my heartfelt condolences to this lady, and I can't even imagine how the MRI technician is feeling right now. He must have a lot of traumatic emotions, guilt and all that, circles around that incident. It can be really tough, but I pray that, everyone involved gets healing. It's not going to be an easy process, but it happened anyways. That is life. We keep on going. I hope they find help. I hope they have people around them to support them. And someone can think about this guy's family, but what of the technician? And you might think and wonder, why didn't they just shut off the machine? Those are the questions that I'm asking myself. I'm like, why wouldn't they just shut off the machine, the whole machine shut off? But anyways, I'm gonna leave you with these videos, and let me know your opinions and comments down below. Please go ahead and like the video, share, and love you. Bye.
This is like something out of a Final Destination movie, but it happened in real life. It all went down this past Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 when 911 gets a call for an emergency at NASA Open MRI in Westbury, New York. 61-year-old Keith McAllister had brought his wife Adrian in for an MRI of her knee. Here's where the story starts to differ. Adrian says the technician brought Keith into the room so that he could help her get out of the machine. The employees say Adrian started to shout out for help, which caused Keith to come running into the room. Employees say they were telling him not to open the door because the machine was in use, but he entered regardless. Either way, when Keith McAllister opened the door, the MRI machine started reacting to the 20-pound chain around his neck. The machine started pulling Keith into the machine, choking him. The chain had a large lock on the end, so they weren't able to get it off. And the technician and Adrian tried pulling him away from the machine, but they were unable. Adrian says her husband waved goodbye and his body went limp in her arms. Keith was then transported to a local hospital, but died the next day after succumbing to his injuries.
The 61-year-old man tragically unalived during an MRI, and he wasn't even the patient. His wife was getting an MRI of her knee, and she needed help getting up after the MRI. So the MRI technician went to get the patient's husband, brought him right back, and when he walked in, he had a giant weight training necklace that weighed many pounds that literally pulled him across the room like a torpedo into the machine, and he tragically passed away. This is unacceptable. MRI safety is critical, and everyone who works in or around MRIs knows that. I'm an anesthesiology resident, and we do sedation and general anesthesia and MRIs all the time, so we're very aware, and I know that everyone I work with is aware as well. We have all these special protocols, Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, and Zone 4, that are specially designed to protect staff and patients. And this all came about when a 6-year-old child who was having major surgery had to undergo an MRI and passed away due to an incident with an oxygen tank. This is tragic, and my prayers and thoughts and best wishes go out to the family.
Man dies from being sucked up against the side of an MRI magnet due to a chain necklace. That is a news article I came across the other day, and as an MRI tech, we need to talk about this. At the time that this happened and those articles came out, there was not much more information other than that. I was actually at work when this all kind of happened, and me and my coworkers were talking, saying, how is it even possible that a patient would get sucked up against the side of a magnet due to a chain necklace? Like, that cannot happen. There's no way. The story that I heard was that there was the MRI tech who was actively scanning a patient. You could hear the noises going, and this man opened the door, walked into the MRI room, and got stuck against the side of the magnet. I don't even know where to start. I have so many questions. I don't know how the MRI tech didn't notice that somebody was opening their door while they were actively scanning somebody. And I knew that news article had to have been misleading. I wear this chain necklace in the MRI magnet all day long. It's a non-ferrous metal. Anytime someone walks into an MRI room with a necklace that's made out of silver or gold, it is a non-ferrous metal, which means there's no iron in it. It's not going to get sucked up against the side of the machine. I'll post a little video here. You can see I walk very close up to the magnet. There's nothing happens. For something to get sucked up against the MRI machine or to get pulled towards the machine, the metal has to be ferrous. So that means it contains some iron in it, and that's what creates that pull. Now, the most misleading part of this all was that the patient wasn't wearing just a normal chain necklace like it stated in the article. Patient was wearing a heavy-duty bike chain. That's right, a bicycle chain. Those like thick chains, he had that on when he walked inside the room. And just today, I'm seeing that this man actually passed away from this incident and from the injuries he suffered from being pulled up against the side of the magnet, which is so tragic and so sad because a lot of people do not take MRI safety serious enough. This man was wearing a ferrous metal, lots of thick metal around his neck. Of course, that's gonna get pulled up against the side of a magnet. Also, too, the fact that this patient even made it into zone 4 with something like that around him just blows my mind. If you ever go for an MRI and your tech asks you a bajillion questions, there is a reason why. We want to make sure you're safe and that nothing bad like this, nothing tragic will happen to you, because clearly it can happen and it does happen. I feel so terrible for everybody that was involved in this, but MRI safety needs to be talked about more because stuff like this cannot continue to happen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tobias Gilk, and I am a certified MRI safety officer and MRI safety expert. And I'm recording this on Saturday morning, Saturday of the week, where the man died in a Long Island MRI accident in which he was pulled into the MRI scanner by what was originally described in the police report as a chain necklace. I have some details that I've been able to confirm, both from aggregating from news sources and also independent communications with many of you. So any of you who've reached out with information or details about this, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. So while the original police report described this as a chain necklace, that led many people to the assumption that this was a piece of jewelry. It was not. It was a heavy-duty bicycle chain with a heavy-duty lock on it. Further complicating things or making it more difficult to identify, purportedly the chain, which the guy apparently wore around his neck, was in some kind of sock or sleeve that I guess would have made it much more difficult to recognize it as a chain as he wore it around his neck. The MRI was not a low-field open MRI. It was a conventional bore format magnet, a tube-type MRI scanner. It was actually a trailer-based MRI that was parked immediately adjacent to the imaging center, and purportedly had some sort of like direct connect between the building and Zone 2 prep spaces, and the trailer base location. There are still more details to be forthcoming, but I wanted to give everybody an update. So, yes, while the police report said chain necklace, this was not a necklace in any conventional sense. This was a heavy-duty bike chain kind of thing, and it did not occur in a low field magnet. It occurred in a conventional high field magnet. I don't know yet exactly what one, but as additional details can be confirmed, I will share them here with you. This accident also appears to, at least from the information available so far, there is not a single kind of smoking gun. This single event, or the single aspect of it, is exclusively responsible. Like many catastrophic accidents, this accident would appear to have several small contributing factors. For any of you who are familiar with sort of the Swiss cheese model, the idea is that, you are here and the bad outcome is here, and we put barriers in between you and the bad outcome. And each one of those barriers is imperfect, right? If we put a sign up that says, don't go here, this area is dangerous. If you don't read the sign, if the sign is written in a language that is not your native language or a language you have fluency in, if the sign is on the door and the door is sitting open such that it doesn't face you in the direction you're approaching, there are lots of reasons why a sign may not be effective. So if a sign is a barrier between you and the bad outcome, right, it's not a perfect barrier. There are going to be all kinds of holes in it. Each barrier, each prevention is imperfect. It has holes in it, like a slice of Swiss cheese. Depending on what the barrier is, there may be small holes or big holes, and we sort of stack a whole bunch of barriers. So some of those are warning signage, some of those are locked doors, some of those are staffing ratios, some of those are training for technologists. And there are a bunch of different protective measures that we employ. No one of them is perfect. And the nature of these kinds of risks is, in certain circumstances, there will be a set of events, a set of conditions whereby we can essentially zip from where you are now to the bad outcome in a path that essentially goes through all of the holes in those slices of Swiss cheese. Long explanation to essentially say, there may not have been a single egregious error. This can be, could be, is potentially an event where little tiny failings at different points in the slices of Swiss cheese are the reason for this fatal outcome. Anyway, as I learn more, I will be able to share more. If you have details or information or corroborations that you're able to share with me, I invite you to do so. At this point, as mercenary as it sounds, right, the accident, the outcome is a sunk cost. There's nothing we can do to rewind and make the accident not have happened. So the accident has happened. The best thing that we can do, given that outcome, is to try and identify what lessons there are to be learned from it, to help make sure that other MRI providers, other sites, don't replicate this accident or don't strengthen their protections in a way that prevents similar etiologies, similar mechanisms from happening. So at this point, we are in the lessons to be learned phase of this accident. And I appreciate all of you who are actively participating to learn the lessons and to share the information from which those lessons will be learned. Thank you very much. More to come as I have it available.
This is like something out of a Final Destination movie, but it happened in real life. It all went down this past Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 when 911 gets a call for an emergency at Nassau Open MRI in Westbury, New York. 61-year-old Keith McAllister had brought his wife Adrian in for an MRI of her knee. Here's where the story starts to differ. Adrian says the technician brought Keith into the room so that he could help her get out of the machine. The employees say Adrian started to shout out for help, which caused Keith to come running into the room. Employees say they were telling him not to open the door because the machine was in use, but he entered regardless. Either way, when Keith McAllister opened the door, the MRI machine started reacting to the 20-pound chain around his neck. The machine started pulling Keith into the machine, choking him. The chain had a large lock on the end, so they weren't able to get it off. And the technician and Adrian tried pulling him away from the machine, but they were unable. Adrian says her husband waved goodbye and his body went limp in her arms. Keith was then transported to a local hospital, but died the next day after succumbing to his injuries.